The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
How many times was she shot? How many gunshots did you hear? One.
We were quite taken aback. We didn't expect to see so young a suspect.
Abby's hand is never going to be a normal hand. It's not going to be like her other side. But we've got it pretty darn close.
Do you see that same light, that same color in Abby that you used to see?
No.
The teacher who was shot by her 6-year-old student is expected to take the stand today and share her story. Plus, we're seeing some very compelling visual elements in the courtroom and talking about how these visuals are affecting the members of the jury. Plus, she was not the person that she was. Abby Zwerner's twin sister details how this horrific event has changed her sister's life. We'll talk about whether the twins' testimony tips the scales of justice. Also, coming up for you this hour, we're going to Massachusetts. Terence Crosbie, convicted of rape. We're counting down to the sentencing of the Irish firefighter. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Thursday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? It's that time of the morning where we get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. And oh my, is it going to be a big day. Grab that coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. What a stupid thing to do. Remember the 3 masked would-be intruders who terrorized a Virginia family, banging on their door, threatening to break in and kill them? Remember them? Well, turns out that was a family prank. Teenage cousins of the homeowners. Oh, but there's more. Adult family members were in on it as well, apparently standing out in the street filming this whole debacle. You know, that poor family was so terrified, and understandably so. Look at this. They called 911, and since then, police in Alexandria, Virginia have logged 100 hours of investigation efforts to try to track down these suspected burglars. Chief of Police calling the incident a serious moral failure with potential deadly consequences. He said, quote, adults must be accountable for their children and parents have a moral responsibility to guide and correct their behavior, reporting there from People magazine. And you know what? I read that, heard what the chief said, and I thought, he's right. He's right. I think all of them, the adults and the teenagers, should all face consequences for this. The parents and the kids should have to put in 100 hours each of community service to try and make amends for what they did. And you know what else? They ought to thank their lucky stars that they didn't get shot, because that kind of foolishness is the kind of thing that can get you killed. It was a dumb thing to do, and it could have been deadly. That's my opening statement on this Thursday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
This is approximately 1 minute after the victim and his entourage arrived at the Homestead Suites parking lot.
And what is going on?
This is Alicia Andrews' phone sending a location to Sean Gaithwright's phone.
So now we have jumped where they are close to the time when the victim is killed. Is that correct?
Yes, this is approximately 15 minutes before the shots are fired.
In Florida, we've got the state expected to rest today in the murder trial for defendant Alicia Andrews. She's accused in the ambush shooting of rising rapper Julio Fulio. Court's going to get underway at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. In Massachusetts, we've got Irish firefighter Terence Crosbie set to be sentenced this morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. This guy was convicted of raping a woman in a Boston hotel. And we're going to talk much more on what we can expect coming up in this program this morning. And in Virginia, we've got the teacher who was shot by a 6-year-old student student expected to take the stand today. Abby Zwerner suing the assistant principal of the school, Dr. Ebony Parker, for a sum of $40 million. And that is our top story here on Opening Statements. The jury waiting for Zwerner's story. And they're thinking about some compelling visual elements that were presented in the courtroom on Wednesday, we have no doubt. So we want to talk about this. How will this affect the jury? Look at this. This is body camera footage showing the first responders taking care of Zwerner right after she was shot. She left the courtroom before the jury took a look at this. So she did not watch this video of herself on that horrific day, arguably the worst day of her life. Another strong moment was when an orthopedic surgeon testified about Abby's hand strength. Look at this. They brought her up to demonstrate the impact of her injuries for the jury. Dr. Romney Anderson spoke to the damage that has been permanently done to her hand.
Abby's hand is never going to be a normal hand. It's not going to be like her other side. But we've got it pretty darn close, and a lot of it's attributed to how hard she worked with therapy to do that. I mean, you can do a perfect surgery. If the patient doesn't do any therapy, they're not going to get a good outcome. So she's done a lot of work. I think she's done remarkably well with the number of injuries she's had there, but it's never going to be a normal hand.
So will her hand strength and that demonstration we saw there garner some sympathy from the jurors? How compelling do you think that body camera footage was for the jury to see? Let's talk about it with our expert guest. Let's bring in jury consultant and human behavior expert Susan Constantine and criminal defense and civil attorney. He's also a celebrity attorney, as we call him, John Phillips. Good morning to you both. Susan, I want to start with you, please, in the body camera footage. We see her right after she's shot. She made her way out of the courtroom. What impact do you think these two things have for the jury? One, the video, and also the fact that if they're looking over at counsel table, she's not there.
You know, we talked about this before, Julie. Optics matter. And this is a highly visual but also emotional video, and every juror that's in that room that's seeing this unfold and seeing the triggering, the color of blood and how impactful that is, seeing her on the ground, also her skin turning pale, she's in shock, is going to have a psychophysiological response from those jurors. So keep in mind, jurors are primarily visual and they're also kinesthetic, which is emotional. The two strongest emotional impacts you could possibly have in rendering a really high award verdict. I mean, this is like exactly what we look for in a plaintiff case. So it's going to have a huge impact. I don't think you can unsee it. Once it's there, it's imprinted. It's not going away.
For sure, Susan. I couldn't agree with you more. Let's look at a clip of that body camera footage together now.
How many times was she shot? How many gunshots did you hear? One gunshot, okay. Sorry, ma'am. We're going to get up close and personal with you, okay? Please.
You're okay.
Got actively bleeding right now.
Nothing on the lower.
Okay. I'm going to roll you over a little bit, okay? I want to see if you're clean out. Okay. Go ahead and lift your arm a little bit. Okay. I have my mom. Are you in pain anywhere else?
Yep.
804.
John Phillips, want to tap into your lawyer brain on this one. Tell me, in terms of the strength that this gives to the plaintiff's case, your thoughts?
I love it. Not only from the perspective of the case, but from the reality of a shooting. I've represented victims in a lot of different shooting cases. And not only am I glad the jury saw it, every dang parent in America needs to face this reality. I'll get off the soapbox to go back to the question, but the trial lawyers here presenting this and doing so with their clientele both addresses the perception and the reality. The perception being, look, you do create a moment here and you're giving this video all of the weight it deserves, while also, kind of staging backstage with the client leaving and coming back and not sitting there, where the jury's watching them watch it. They're watching it. But it's very powerful. School shootings in America are like my hotbed issue with 13, 11, and 8-year-old kids. Teachers are under attack. And I'm leaning all the way forward on this case.
Yes, I know you are, John. Hey, I didn't mind you getting up on that soapbox. Go ahead, my friend. I shared the sentiments that you have shared with us. And when we think about that video coming in, I know that defense counsel has a job to do. They wanted to really restrict a lot of the hearsay statements, even things that the plaintiff herself was saying. At one point, she said, please just tell me a story. In other words, distract me, take me out of this. And the judge ruled that we're going to play the video and not have those audio elements for fear of it being too prejudicial. John Phillips, legally, was that the right call?
It is certainly, you've got hearsay's exceptions. It's a year-long class basically for us lawyers, as you know, and there's excited utterances. There's certain statements that are allowed, but also as the plaintiff's lawyer, you kind of want the visuals to tell the story as well, and jurors wonder kind of what didn't I hear, but yeah, the judge did a good job and has broad discretion in these instances, but you got a powerful enough video. You don't need some of the more dramatic elements, even though, as the plaintiff's attorney, I would have argued for every single statement short of anything, prejudicial to my client, because it's like, Judge, this is the reality of a mass shooting. This is the pain and suffering. This is what she has to do to go through not just the immense physical pain, but emotional pain. And she was shot by a young child. Let's emphasize that.
Mm-hmm. Right, John. Yeah, and if they find liability here, then they'll make a determination of the compensation, as you know. So to your point, all of that could arguably go to that. Susan, I want to show another clip to you and get some analysis here. This is the hand demonstration that the doctor did with the plaintiff.
What about strength?
Oh, so grab both my fingers here. Just grab your hole. Just squeeze as hard as you can. This side would be considered normal. This is less than half.
Okay, Susan, how effective is it when you get the expert off the stand in front of the jury and you have one of the parties there with the expert?
When you demonstrate something visually, the impact is so huge that it's going to affect the jurors. When you see her fingers not really forming correctly, and this doctor is very credible. He's not overplaying the hand, so to speak, and it has impacted. You could actually see it, how it has deformed her hand. Everyone is looking at that. And the graphics of that are real. So they don't even have to force it. They don't have to play it up. I mean, the evidence is the evidence, and it speaks for itself, and that is enough to be able to get a really good verdict for this plaintiff.
Yes, and as we keep this video as the point of our conversation here, Susan, we can see the plaintiff and how she looks. We always talk about optics with every trial. So if you are new to the show, welcome. And so we're not just assessing this with Abby Zwerner. We do it with every single party to a case here. And so what are your thoughts on how they have her dressed for the trial?
I think they did a great job. I mean, I probably wouldn't have put her burgundy. But at the same time, you think about it, probably was a good move because what she was emulating was the blood and trauma. So normally, if it were a defendant, I'd be going, oh, definitely don't put her in red, because it shows the trauma, the blood, of the gore. But here in this case, they want to show that. So I actually think that was a really good strategic move. And then, of course, the school sweater, right? Every every teacher wears that little cardigan sweater. So I think it plays right into exactly who she is in real life. I don't think they had to play it hard. They're just doing what she does best, and that is being herself.
I agree with you, Susan. I love the white. I thought it looked really angelic on her, and the hair was just soft. Yeah, she looks beautiful and authentic. And we always talk about how that's so important. You and John know authenticity is everything in trial work. We will leave it here for now, but we're going to be talking more about Abby's twin sister a little later in the program. Susan Constantine, thank you so much for your assessments and all your expertise. We'll see you soon. John Phillips, we thank you too. Oh, John's going to call you for trial. You two really should know each other. Oh my gosh, I'm assuming you do. Yeah, we need to connect you two. You two need to do some good business together. All right, here's what we're going to do. John Phillips, stand by. Friends at home, stand by. Maybe get a little more coffee. I'm going to do that. Here's what's coming up for you.
Certainly, Mr. Crosbie has already spent a good amount of time being held. He is a dedicated and long-time public servant serving as a firefighter. We would likely be asking for something along the lines of 2 to 4 or 3 to 5.
Terence Crosbie's sentencing happening in less than an hour. We're taking a closer look at some of his social media posts that were excluded from the trial. Where do you see them? And accused killer Brian Walsh back in court today. His trial fast approaching. His competency hearing, though, postponed. We're spotlighting what in the world is going on with his mental health.
The Court TV podcast will return.
What say you, Mr. Foreperson, as to indictment number 2024-00244, offense 001, rape? Is the defendant not guilty or guilty?
Guilty.
Terence Crosbie will be back in court this morning to be sentenced. He's trending this morning for some social media posts that he made before his rape conviction. Now, these were not allowed in the trial, right? We saw him on trial. We broadcasted the case. He was convicted of raping a woman in a Boston hotel when he came for a visit to march in the St. Patrick's Day parade back in 2024. Now, there was a pretrial motion made by his lawyers that they were successful on, so the jury did not get to hear about a tweet that he put out there where he references rape. In 2017, he posted that Amsterdam was a place where a tall, blonde female would not report rape. Here's a look at that alleged tweet uncovered by a Reddit user and then verified by us at Court TV. The tweet was 7 years before the incident in question in Boston and not in any way connected to the trip. So the Commonwealth motion to put it into the trial was denied. The defense successfully kept it out. But there's more to Terence Crosbie. Apparently, the Daily Mail located this birthday tweet from him back in October of 2021 for his wife. Crosbie captioned the photo of him and his wife, and he said, quote, "Happy birthday, babe. I will rupture your cervix later." Raindrop emoji, lips emoji. So what's your reaction to Mr. Crosbie's social media posts? Let's bring in our power panel. I have an amazing power panel today. Still with me, celebrity attorney John Phillips, shaking his head up there. With him, domestic violence expert, former law enforcement officer Claudia King, and the director of the National Center of Victims of Crime, and also an attorney, Renee Williams. Great to have you all on this panel this morning. These messages. John said you did the head shake first. I'm going to start with you. Kick us off, my friend.
I'm sorry on behalf of good men everywhere that these heathens exist and women have to deal with them, first of all. I missed this when I was talking about this case last week, because I guarantee you I wouldn't have been as nice and as open to a hung jury as I was. This is awful. I do get the court's ruling from the standpoint of these being older and unrelated, and certainly, like I just described my feelings, a jury would have felt that way as well and convicted him based upon the tweet, not whether he was there at the time and did this, but certainly, 2 + 2 = 4.
Definitely. Claudia King, to you next, please. Your reactions.
Absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, if I got that happy birthday tweet from my husband, his stuff would be out in the yard by the time he got home.
Yes.
And the other one, let me just say that I've seen people online, you know, saying, oh, that's no big deal. It's just locker room banter. Except locker room banter happens in the locker room, not posted for the entire world to see. So it's clear to me that this guy, that's how he feels about women, because he posted it for the whole world to see. That's who he is. And John, we appreciate your apology.
Yeah, we sure do. Claudia, thank you for that. Agreed. Renee Williams, last but certainly not least on this power panel. Your thoughts, please.
I mean, I don't know that I can say anything different than what's been said. I absolutely agree with John. This had no place in the trial, and I definitely think that was the right ruling of the court. But I will note that I think his attitude was on full display for the jury as well, because if you watch his cross-examination by the prosecution, she was asking him about rape, and he said one of his first questions to the police, which she pointed out, was, well, what's your definition of rape? This man, you know, I think he showed who he was. And I think that also bore fruit within the victim's own testimony of what he said. You know, you'll like this. That guy's a loser. He can't give you what I can give. I think there were other ways to get his attitude into the court that didn't involve these tweets.
Definitely. Excellent points, Renee. Yeah, who's joking about rape in 2025? I mean, really, like it's disgusting. And I agree. Who says that to their significant other, you know, about murdering their cervix? It's disgusting. And I think we're seeing the real him in those messages. He was lucky those didn't come in, and good on those prosecutors for at least trying. I have another trending moment I want to show all of you, the reaction of his wife to the verdict. His wife, this is her with the blonde hair and the burgundy coat. She flew over from Ireland. She was there in the courtroom when he was found guilty of raping this woman in Boston, this woman who we have not identified, a 29-year-old attorney. And on Monday, I had Mr. Crosbie's attorneys on this program, and I asked him about how his wife is supporting him throughout not only the rape allegations, but also came out in the trial that he definitely cheated on his wife, as there was video with him and another woman making out in a bar.
Candidly, kissing a woman at a bar is different than being a rapist. It's night and day. It's not the same thing. And to full disclosure, she was aware of that before the video even came out at the first trial, because he told her. She knows her husband. They have a very good relationship, and that's why she's remained loyal to him from day one and remains loyal to him now.
Nobody likes these cases in terms of trying to say that one person did something wrong or one person is denying it outright. Who do you believe? Who can you trust? Both parties are saying that it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Yes, you did. And so clearly the jury chose to believe one of them and disbelieve the other. And so that makes it even more difficult for Mr. Crosbie to continue on.
All right, so now we want to get some sentencing predictions for you all. I do not have the benefit of seeing his guidelines, and when his attorneys were on the program, they were vague. I did press them on where they would be going. They said, well, lower end of the guidelines, maximum allowable punishment's 20 years. I said, how low are we talking here? And we've got that clip. Let's look.
I imagine that this is going to be seen as perhaps a 5 to 7 on the guidelines in terms of years, that is. We would likely be asking for something along the lines of 2 to 4 or 3 to 5, and that I expect will be in contrast to the government, the Commonwealth, that is, asking for perhaps 7 to 8 or more.
Oh yeah, they're going to ask for more than 2 to 4. Renee Williams, would you start off our discussion in terms of what would be most appropriate in terms of a sentence for this rapist?
Sure. I think the answer is I don't know. Like you, I don't have the benefit of the guidelines in front of me. But I think more importantly is, what is the victim going to say in her victim impact statement? And what does she want? And what, frankly, is his response going to be? What is he going to say when he has the opportunity to, again, address his guilty verdict? I would not have a problem. There's another famous rape case I'm thinking of, and that's the Kobe Bryant case. And, you know, Kobe's response to the rape once everything was fleshed out was, I apologize. I was in a situation where I believed this. I now understand that was wrong. I now know better, and I will do better. If we saw that from this man, I would also believe a lower term was appropriate. But I think what he has shown us is that he has no remorse, and unless we see that, I would like to see a higher sentencing as well.
Yes, I would too, and I love the points you made, Renee. Thank you for all of that. Dovetailing off of the point, when there's no remorse and there's really no mitigation, if he had pleaded and taken responsibility for what he's done, then I could see the judge saying, well, you know what, perhaps a departure from the guidelines may be appropriate here, depending on how we fashion the sentence. Claudia, your thoughts on what may be the thinking of the court here with this guy, when we know he took it to trial, and even still his lawyers came on this show and are still proclaiming his innocence even on Monday.
Right, and unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to see that remorse that all of us would love to see. I think that we're going to see more of the same from him if we see/hear anything at all. You know, I would love to see him get the max, but I know that that's not reasonable. I think the judge may have trouble going double digits here, so I'm thinking maybe 7 to 9 to put him just under the double digits. It's still a lengthy sentence, but he gets out at a reasonable age where he could potentially still do good with his life.
And definitely good points, Claudia. We have to leave this here for now, but we will be going there at our 9 a.m. hour. I'm getting a time cue, but John Phillips, you know, I don't have my glasses on. John, you took 20 years, my man. Yes. We got to go to John Phillips real quick. John, you say max amount?
Max amount. I have this handy dandy chart. He's going to have to, you know, face these tweets now. It's got to be double digits. They've got to. This is rape.
Right. This is really, really bad and disgusting.
And he fled. He fled like a coward too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, he jumped on that plane. Good on those officers grabbing him up before he could take off. Wonderful discussion and excellent points from you all, as per usual. Got to say goodbye to our brilliant ladies on the panel, Renee Williams and Claudia King. Thank you both so much. And Renee, if anybody wants some information on the program Victim Connect, best place to go at NCVC?
victimconnect.org. We can help anyone who is in a rough situation or is a victim of crime.
That's awesome. And then the overall website for NCVC, victimsofcrime.org, you'll see information on our big fundraiser coming up in a couple weeks. Can't wait for the 40th anniversary. Thank you for all you do. We'll see you soon. When we come back, here's what's coming up on Opening Statements.
It had become evident that Mr. Walsh was suspecting his wife of having an affair. The oldest child's iPad begins to visit websites concerned how long does it take for a dead body to smell? How long does it take for someone to be missing to be declared dead?
Is accused killer Brian Walsh competent to stand trial? We're digging deeper into his mental health as he's back in court today. Plus, emotional testimony from Abby Zwerner's twin sister. Could she tip the scales of justice in the trial?
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
This morning, we're shining our spotlight on Massachusetts, where a dad accused of murdering and dismembering his wife is due back in court.
The defendant is now before the court charged with murder of his wife, Anna Walsh, as well as disinterring of a body. On January 4th of 2023, Cohasset police received a call indicating that she was missing. At 4:55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell. At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to.
Brian Walsh was supposed to be in court on Monday for a competency hearing, but that was delayed after the hospital said they needed more time to evaluate him. A judge ordered him to undergo that mental health evaluation and spend 20 days in a state hospital to determine his competency after he was stabbed in the Norfolk County Jail. Now, a jury trial is set for mid-November, but what's the likelihood that's going to happen? And what can we expect to happen in court today with his case on the docket? Let's bring in forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman and high-profile criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Michael J. Brown. Good morning to you both. All right, Dr. Carol, everybody wants to know, is this guy really incompetent? What do you say, please?
I say he's crazy like a fox. He is buying time. You know, this all started when his attorneys said that they met with him. Well, the alleged stabbing in his head happened on 9/11 of 2025. And, you know, first of all, I find that very interesting, the date. If, in fact, I mean, there is some thought that perhaps he paid the man to attack him or something like that, it would be interesting to pick that date to do it, because that would be when perhaps the staff is doing other things, or there is less staff because it's sort of a holiday, you know, a commemoration. Anyhow, putting that aside for a minute, he was stabbed in the head, and he was taken to the hospital, and he wasn't kept. I mean, this wasn't a major impact, and so the only excuse, the only explanation. Well, first of all, let me back up. Being incompetent to stand trial, we have to make it clear that it's a distinction from not guilty by reason of insanity. Incompetent to stand trial is how you are at that very moment, and that the trial is happening. And so that would mean that you have to, in order to be competent, you have to understand the charges against you. You have to understand the process, the legal process of the trial. You have to be able to confer, assist in your defense with your attorneys, and to be able to make decisions. So it is possible that this stabbing caused him to have PTSD, for example, in which case he might well be having problems that could interfere with his competency. But it just, given his whole history, he just lies all the time. He lied to the police when they came to meet with him because he reported his wife missing. He lied about the Andy Warhol paintings. I mean, this is his MO. So it's hard to believe anything that he's saying.
Definitely, Dr. Carroll. Yeah, his pathology is certainly problematic. Michael J. Brown, his trial's coming up. I mean, we're on the eve of trial. We've been talking about this case for a long time, as you know. What is the likelihood that everybody's going to be ready to go mid-November?
Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Doctor. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen maybe in November, but it's going to happen. Is it a dilatory tactic? It may be. And remember, Julie, it's important that the defendant always participate in the assistance of his defense and assist the attorneys and has that ability. It's a constitutionally protected right. So that's really important. And I think that's what the prosecution and the court are making sure goes forward, that he is competent, he's able to prepare and assist in his defense. And once that was raised to the court, they want to be cautious because that's a significant issue for appeal when and if he's convicted. So they want to make sure they cross their T's, dot their I's, get the evaluation done by the doctors. And if he's deemed incompetent for the moment, so be it. They'll adjourn the case for 30 days or 60 days. But it's happening. No matter what's going to happen, he's going to get his day in court, no matter what kind of delay there is. And Dr. Carroll hit the nail on the head in the sense of this competency issue is nothing about whether or not he's responsible for the crime. He's going to face the charges. It's just a question of, is he competent to sit at that defense table and help the defense prepare this case?
Right. Really good points. Dr. Carroll, let's talk about what a competency evaluation looks like. I'm sure you've done this many times. And as you already pointed out, we're talking about a present day inquiry here and now today. We're not looking backward at the time of the incident. What does that look like when you go to, let's say, a jail to evaluate a prisoner like Brian Walsh? What kind of questions do you ask him?
Well, first of all, it usually only takes one session, or it depends upon the person. It could take, if seems like there is a good possibility that they're not competent, then of course you want to spend more time, to be certain of things. But or either way, actually, the 20 days, it's interesting that the judge gave him 20 days, or the hospital actually asked for 20 days, which is very good because that means they're going to do a very in-depth evaluation. But you ask about, you start off with asking about who the people are in the court. Does he know what the judge does? Who is the judge? What does he do? What do these witnesses do? All the basics. Then you do a general mental status exam, which is, you look at his to see whether there's any kind of mental illness as well. You can give him questions that could determine whether he is competent, whether he is, able to answer your questions, basic kinds of questions, like, for example, a mini mental status exam, which is to determine whether there's cognitive problems. You get a good history from him. You try to see whether there's a disconnect between what he tells you is his history and what you know from having read the records. I mean, it's very important to read all the records. And but those are kinds of, you give tests of logic. Those are kinds of the basic sorts of things. Typically, if it's someone who is faking, they will go off on tangents and, tell you about how the devil made him do it, or the devil, is after him. Now, with him, they have appointed I don't know if he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but a Dr. Burke, and he did a preliminary exam, and he said that Walsh does not have a history of serious mental illness or substance use problems, but did report long-term problems, focusing in school, and had reported a prior diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder and depressed mood. So, really, it seems like he might well be borderline, but that's all in cluster B of the personality disorder. Same thing with sociopathy. And he had interrupted sleep, he said. He had nightmares, he said. Again, he may well know what the symptoms are of PTSD.
Yeah, narcissist. What a surprise. What a surprise there. Boy, what an interesting conversation. Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you so much. We'll be going to this case later today. We'll see if he's in the courtroom. Appreciate your time and expertise. Michael J. Brown, stand by, please. We're going to hit a break when we come back. Here's what's next.
She's just not the person that she was. I feel like she's kind of lost her sense of direction in a way. She doesn't want to go out anymore.
Abby Zwerner's twin sister describes how the shooting has changed her twin's life. And a live look right now at that courtroom in Virginia. We're expecting to hear from Abby Zwerner today. We'll go there together when Court TV Live begins.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the emotional testimony from a loved one that could be tipping the scales of justice in the trial in Virginia. We're about to take you live there any minute. And on Wednesday, the jury saw body camera footage of Abby Zwerner right after she was shot by her 6-year-old student. Her twin sister took the stand and talked about the differences in her sister now and before the shooting.
Do you see that same light, that same color in Abby that you used to see?
No.
Can you tell us what you do see?
Someone who is scared but trying to be strong for other people.
Is that what you see today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. Those are all the questions I have.
It's clear it has impacted her twin as well. So let's talk about the effect this will have on the jury. Let's bring back in our legal eagle, Michael J. Brown. Michael, your thoughts hearing from Abby's twin?
It's a great move for the plaintiff, Julie. What you have now is you're personalizing the testimony. You're having her twin sister, who knows her better than the twin sister, and she talks about what the ramifications have been and how she's been affected. And you couple that with the body cam, which was really, really powerful evidence, because now you can bring the folks in the jury right into that scene, right into the classroom, and instead of just hearing about testimony regarding a shooting, now they can actually see the plaintiff on the ground, bleeding, being treated, the trauma, and bring them into the real life situation. So I think the combination of the two was very effective for the plaintiff.
Definitely, Michael. And as you know, it's a delicate process when you're on the defense side with a case like this and have to cross-examine a witness like that who has felt the effects of this and is emotional before the jury, someone the jury may be really identifying with. I have a clip. I want to get your assessment of this approach on the other side of it. This is on the cross where counsel questions the twin sister about a Taylor Swift concert after the shooting.
And you talk about that your sister doesn't want to go anywhere. Have you given your sister any gifts of concert tickets?
I
since
have.
then? And where was that?
I drained my bank account to take her to Taylor Swift.
So she was able to go to Taylor Swift?
Yes,
And
it was not without its own challenges.
That's a pretty large crowd.
It was.
Where was it?
Philadelphia.
The Eras Tour in Philadelphia?
That's correct.
And your sister was able to go do that?
Like I said, yes, but it was not without its challenges.
Okay, Michael, break down that moment for us. What'd you see?
So, you know, the defense attorney, Julie, as you know, has a job to do, and they're going to question the witness. The sister said, hey, she can't do anything she used to do, and she stays at home, and she's isolated, and those are issues that go to damages. So the defense attorney is cross-examining, saying, hey, you brought her out. She was out in public. She was able to walk into, I assume, a stadium or a coliseum and see Taylor Swift. So it's effective cross-examination. How far it's going to go for the jury, I don't know. But certainly the defense attorney is chipping away at those issues, and that's their job.
Right. Did you feel that the moment was effective for defense counsel? I know what she was trying to do. Overall, how do you think it landed with the jurors?
I don't think it's going to matter, Julie, because at the end of the day, it's all going to be about liability. It's really, this case is really going to depend on is the principal, and i.e. the school district, responsible or not. And that's what the issue is going to hinge on. I think if liability is found, I think the damages are significant, because here you see the doctor talking about the medical treatment and the injuries, and they had numerous doctors testify, and this young lady suffered such extensive injuries. So whether or not she went to a Taylor Swift concert or not is going to be insignificant, I think, at the end of the day, if they find liability.
With the liability, right. It's almost like you have to think of it as what witness establishes what for your case, right? And this would be a witness establishing damages. As you're saying, she's not establishing liability. You know, that has to do with the school, the principal, all those actions, the firearm, all those things. Whereas this is, you're saying you think if there's liability, there's not a question. It's going to be a big amount awarded.
Yeah, Julie, again, the doctors testify. There were numerous surgeries. There's such extensive ramifications and residual effects for this young lady. So whether she went to the Taylor Swift concert or not, it doesn't matter. She is scarred physically, internally, mentally for the rest of her life. And if the school is responsible, I think it's going to be a big number.
I'm with you. They're looking for $40 million is the number for anyone just joining our coverage. That's what's being sought by the plaintiff. And again, you have to have liability first, as Michael was noting, and then the jury would make a determination of what amount of damages, if any, they would award. And it would be pretty significant. I agree with you, Michael. So today, Abby Zwerner is going to take the stand. This is going to be a huge day. Michael, we just have about 10 seconds left, but if you were her attorney, what would be the one piece of advice, most important of all pieces of advice, you would give to her before getting up there?
Just tell your story to the jury. Don't hold back. Be natural, let it flow, and just tell your story to the jury, and I think you'll do just fine.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just be yourself. Yeah, just be who you are and say exactly what happened. Tell the truth. Michael J. Brown, we always love having you on this show. Thank you so much. We're going to let you get off to court, win your own cases.
That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.